Welcome back to another episode of the DFS Express. I'm your host, the Daily Fantasy Sniper, and today's episode is UFC Brooklyn, UFC on ESPN Plus One. Main event is Henry Cejudo taking on TJ Dillashaw for the Flyweight Championship of the World. These episodes are brought to you by the DFS Army, where I am a coach. DraftKings, FanDuel, Fantasy Draft. For MMA, it is just DraftKings content, articles, optimizers, all that good stuff, coaching, VIP chats. All that stuff is available on the YouTube link. If you're watching this on YouTube, use the code SNIPER and get 20% off your membership. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Trying to get to, I think it's 300 subscribers this year is my goal. If you're not watching this on YouTube, jump over to my YouTube channel. It's at the DFS Sniper. That's also my Twitter handle. Give me a follow there, if you will. If you're not watching on YouTube, you're probably listening to this on Loudmouth MMA podcast network that you can get all kinds of MMA content, interviews. Kyle used to do more interviews, but episodes, the Not Safe for Work MMA show, all kinds of great stuff. Loudmouth MMA on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Newsom MMA. Newsom has a really great MMA website. News. He sells premium bets. A bunch of us, the MMA community, contribute to his site. He posts our videos, does a good job getting us exposure. Really great guy, knows his stuff. Make sure and check out Newsom MMA. And with all that being said, let's jump into the UFC on Brooklyn card and the Express episodes. If this is your first time watching or listening, first of all, thank you. These are quick breakdowns. Going to go through these fights incredibly quick. There's a lot of long breakdowns out there. I do some on the DFS Army. I want to go quick. Who do I think is going to win? Who's the better DraftKings play? And let's move on and let's dig into it with our first fight of the night. It is short notice replacement. I'll say that a few times. Kyle Stewart, 8,700, taking on Chance Rencounter at 7,500. Stewart is the favorite, minus 165. Rencounter is a dog at plus 145. There are not a ton of live underdogs. There are a few live underdogs, but there's really not any solid underdog picks that I'm dying to get in my DraftKings roster. Stewart is the favorite coming in short notice. Rencounter lost to Bilal Muhammad in his UFC debut. Tough debut. Kyle Stewart is a little dependent on the right hand. Loads up, does have big power. Rencounter can grapple. Ultimately, I think Stewart wins the fight. But if Rencounter wins, it'll be a grappling-based decision. He's a dog I'm willing to take a shot on DraftKings. Stewart is my pick to win the fight. Rencounter is the better DraftKings play. Jeff Neal, 8,500, taking on Bilal Muhammad, 7,700. Jeff Neal coming off of the highlight reel knockout against Frank Camacho. He's a minus 175 favorite in this one. Bilal Muhammad, the comeback is plus 155. Muhammad, that gritty type of grinder, beating a lot of really good guys. Beat Tim Means, beat Jordan Mean, has good wins on his resume, can be outstruck. I think Neal's the better striker, has more power. But Bilal Muhammad, even though he got knocked out by Vicente Luque, he's a tough guy, hard to get out of there. I think people might be loading up on Jeff Neal because of that awesome Frank Camacho performance. Muhammad's not going to stand there and get hit like Camacho, who just stood and swung wildly. He's going to clinch up if he gets in trouble. Neal needs a knockout. 8,500, he could get it. Ultimately, I don't think this is a great fight to target on DraftKings. I'm not going to say this a bunch of just, I promise there are not a ton of underdogs I'm looking on this card, but these first two are ones I'm willing to take a shot on. I do think Jeff Neal wins a decision, but it's close, and Muhammad is somebody, I take that back. The more I'm thinking about it, playing out of my head, even if Muhammad wins, it's going to be a grinding type of decision. Maybe he gets on top and finds a submission, but ultimately, I'm going to side with Jeff Neal all around here. I think he wins a decision. He's not incredibly overpriced, 8,500, and he does have upside to the knockout. Give me Jeff Neal at 8,500. Tay Edwards, 8,200, taking on Dennis Bermudez at 8,000. Edwards is the favorite, minus 135. Bermudez, plus 115. Bermudez going up to 155 pounds. He's lost, I think, we have 4 straight for Bermudez. It's 4 or 5 straight. It is 4 straight. Rick Glenn, Andre Feely, Darren Elkins, Korean Zombie. Zombie, Bermuda's one of those guys. He has a questionable chin, but the only time he was finished, aside from Jeremy Stevens, was knocked out anyway, was Korean Zombie. He's not easy to get out of there. While he'd get flashed, knocked down, pops up. He's a pretty tough guy, but the issue here is Tay Edwards at 155 is going to be the much bigger guy. Bermudez they're both wrestlers. Tay Edwards did just get starched by Don Madge, who hit really hard, went through him like a buzzsaw. Bermudez is not going to have that style. Ultimately, I think both these guys' grappling is going to cancel each other out. I don't think either one is going to have an advantage, even though Edwards is bigger. I think Bermudez is going to be faster and more technical in the feed, whereas Edwards has big power and can put you away. To me, it's a toss-up type of fight. Ultimately, I'm going to side. The pick for me is going to be, give me Tay Edwards, that size advantage and the knockout power. He'll be my straight-up pick at 8,200. DraftKings-wise, though, I think Edwards is a better tournament play because of that knockout upside. Bermudez, you can roster Bermudez in cash games if you are not afraid of the chin. He is probably going to be the more active fighter, whereas Edwards is going to look for the power shot. But give me Tay Edwards at 8,200 in a really close fight. Corey Sandhagen, 9,300, taking on Mario Batista at 6,900. Batista is a short notice replacement. This was supposed to be Sandhagen, John Lineker. Hopefully we get that fight. Sandhagen's a minus 500 favorite here. Look, Batista will have an advantage on the ground. He's going to want to get this fight to the ground. Can he do it? Wait, Batista is an aggressive guy too. Take that back. Sorry, a lot of short notice tape. Batista, I'm thinking of a fight we'll get to later. Batista, I think, is going to be aggressive. He does the same thing Sandhagen does. They're going to meet in the middle of the cage and swing. Sandhagen is better. The issue is that at 9,300, you're really relying on a finish here. I think ultimately he gets it, but with where these prices fall out, I don't think I want to risk it in cash games. I think Sandhagen's a good tournament play, but not for cash games. Batista ultimately, too new. Everything he does, Sandhagen does better. It's just a matter. So he's not a dart throw I want to invest in. Give me Corey Sandhagen at 9,300. Next up, we have Alonzo Menafield at 9,100, taking on the guy whose name I've seen 6 different ways, and it keeps confusing me. I'm going to say it the way DraftKings has it, which is Vinicius Moreira. His nickname is Mammoth or Mamouche. This is classic striker versus grappler. Menafield, I didn't say the price, is 9,100. Mamouche, 7,100. Menafield, minus 275. Comeback on Moreira, plus 235. Striker versus grappler. Menafield, way better striker. But it's not that he's an outstanding striker. It's that Moreira's striking is god-awful. But he's a great BJJ practitioner. So for me, I always start with the grappler in these type of fights. If this fight hits the ground, Moreira is going to run through Menafield. At 7,100, that's a dog I want to invest in. Menafield, on the other hand, Moreira is hittable. Striking defense is not good. At 205 pounds, all these guys have power. Menafield could put him down. This is a fight I've waffled on between two newcomers. This is the one underdog on the card. I am picking straight up. Give me Moreira at 7,100 to get a win by submission. Next up, Jojo Calderwood at 7,400, taking on Ariane Lipsky at 8,800. The Queen of Violence, as she is known, is the favorite in this fight, minus 185. Comeback on Jojo is plus 160. I toy with the idea of picking Jojo. Lipsky's a KSW champion. Really solid, tough as all hell, finishing power. Like at 125, you don't see that kind of power. And Calderwood, can get pressured. She can get hit. Colin Jafaria was teeing her up on the feet. She lost decisions to Andrade and Calvillo. She's live on the ground. I think on the ground it could be a little bit closer, but ultimately I just like the pace and the pressure that Lipsky fight at, as well as that finishing upside. But it is a step up in competition for her. Ultimately, I think this line is a little wide, even though Lipsky's the pick. So I'm picking her, but the prices, I don't have a ton of interest in this fight because I think it should be lined a little bit closer, and I'm worried about the scoring on both sides. But Lipsky is the pick at 8,800. Next up, Alex Hernandez, 8,600, taking on Donald Cowboy Cerrone at 7,600. Sorry, guys, getting all kinds of pop-up ads in my computer. Should probably get a new one. And that's on the horizon, by the way. You see, next few months, hopefully be moving, better setup for podcasting and YouTube videos. So, more to come on that, but some exciting stuff going on. We're at Hernandez and Cerrone. Hernandez minus 190, comeback on Cerrone plus 165. Cerrone's gone through what he would have you believe is a metamorphosis, has a kid now, knows what he's fighting for, to want to throw down to throw down. Back at 155, a little worried about the cut. Saw him, today's Thursday, saw him at the presser, already looked a little dehydrated. His last one was against Mike Perry, who was an idiot, took him down and got quickly submitted. Hernandez has a grappling game. We saw him grind with Olivier Aubin Mercier in a good performance. Ultimately, I just think that Hernandez is going to be a little too active in this one. I think he's going to be able to push a pace that Cerrone at 155, I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with. We've seen, Cerrone, while he's flashy and throws great kicks, he's very hittable. We saw him, Robbie Lawler, Darren Till ran through him. Leon Edwards got a decision. The Leon Edwards one is probably the most telling one. I think that while Cerrone is live off his back to a submission, and that wouldn't stun me, I think Hernandez, just the pace and the pressure, should be able to get through Cowboy Cerrone in this one. Give me Hernandez at 8,600. Next up, Glover Teixeira, 8,300, taking on Carl Roberson at 7,900. Another short notice replacement at 205 as Roberson goes up from middleweight to take this fight on under a week's notice. The line on this one, Teixeira is a minus 120 favorite, Carl Roberson plus 100. To me, all the tape you need to see on this one, it took Alexander Gustafsson 5 rounds to get rid of Glover Teixeira before he finished him. Teixeira is still tough, even though he is aging. Roberson, on the other hand, was taken down and quickly submitted by Mutanchi Ferreira, and Teixeira is a better ground game guy. If he can get this fight to the ground, he took down. He was able to take down Jared Cannonier, who's coming down from heavyweight at that time. Ragdolled him around. I don't think that Roberson's going to have an answer for the takedowns. Give me Teixeira, though I do think Roberson in play for a knockout at 7,900. I like Glover in this one to get this fight to the ground and get a finish. Paige Van Zandt, 8,400, taking on Rachel Ostovich at 7,800. PVZ is the favorite, minus 155. Ostovich plus 135. We know the backstory with Ostovich. Ultimately, though, while she looks good, I just don't think she's a UFC caliber fighter. Her debut was on the card where they had all the tough fighters from that season, and she got Gevorgian, who she was able to submit. And last time out, she took a beating at the hands of Montana De La Rosa. And ultimately, I don't even think she looks that great, but that's a conversation we can save for Twitter. I much prefer PVZ, who is going to have an advantage on the feet. She's experienced. Listen, her losses, I know everyone wants to give her crap, but she's lost to Rose Namajunas, Michelle Watterson, Jessica Rose Clark. Those are tough fighters, and she's got a win over Felice Herrig. That's her best win. Kaylin Curran, Beck Rawlings. Neither one are in the UFC anymore. Curran could still be bouncing around. I don't know how she keeps getting fights. Ultimately, on the feet, PVZ should have a huge advantage here. As long as she doesn't go for one of those idiotic head and arm throws, I think she pieces up Ostovich in the feet and wins a decision. For me, PVC is the pick and the better DraftKings play. Joseph Benavidez, 9,000, taking on Dustin Ortiz at 7,200. Benavidez minus 230. Comeback on Ortiz is plus 190. Look, Benavidez is the better fighter. We've seen this before. There were questions about whether he's done. I had those questions heading into the Alex Perez fight. He proved me wrong. Looks like he's still there. Ultimately, Dustin Ortiz has looked better than he has ever looked. Wins over Alexandre Pantoja and Matthias Nicolau his last 2 fights. Still, though, at their current form, with the skill set they have, give me Benavidez in the feet. I don't think Ortiz is going to be able to get him down. I think Benavidez is craftier on the feet. 9,000 is a lot for a flyweight, so I'm a little worried about the scoring. So for those reasons, I'm actually going to say, well, Benavidez is my pick and a pretty confident pick. If you want to throw in Ortiz in a couple lineups, I have no problem with that. But give me Benavidez for 9,000. Gregor Gillespie, 9,400, taking on Yancy Medeiros at 6,800. Gillespie is minus 485. Comeback on Medeiros plus 385. These next 2 fights, the most lopsided on the card. Medeiros is live to a knockout. We've seen Gillespie, not live. He only has a puncher's chance in that we've seen Gillespie hurt a few times, but he just shoots for a takedown. Such a high caliber wrestler. I think, Gillespie gets a takedown or as many as he wants and just gets Medeiros out of there eventually, or just grinds at him for 3 rounds, and a grappling-based decision isn't the worst thing in the world. So give me Gregor Gillespie. Love the style for DraftKings. He's going to be super chalky, but at 9,400, the gift is probably the top option on the card. Greg Hardy, 9,500, taking on Alan Crowder at 6,700. Greg Hardy minus 500, Alan Crowder plus 400. Look, we know the story on both these guys, at least on Hardy. I won't go into it, at least the outside the cage stuff. This is only his 4th pro fight. Was on the Dana White Tuesday Contender Series twice. Alan Crowder, journeyman guy who's undersized for heavyweight, got knocked out by Justin Willis last time out. UFC is setting up Hardy here for another knockout, 9,500. He needs the first round finish to pay off salary. He's probably going to get it unless he tries to be patient and build experience, which the American Top Team guys might tell him to do. Who knows? Safe for a win. Need the first round finish. Most expensive fighter on the card. He's the pick at 9,500. Main event time. TJ Dillashaw, 8,900, taking on Henry Cejudo at 7,300. Dillashaw minus 210, Cejudo plus 175. Cash games, I'm going to stack this fight. The over 4.5 rounds is favored. And I've been waffling on this fight. I started the week actually on the Henry Cejudo side. I see most people go from Dillashaw to Cejudo. I've gone from Cejudo to Dillashaw. Was a little worried, obviously, about the big weight cut, the grappling. But the more I watch tape, just DJ hit Cejudo a few times in that fight. Case made that Demetrius Johnson won the fight. I scored it for Cejudo personally. I don't think Cejudo's striking is that good. Yeah, he got through DJ with his grappling. I know his striking looked better, and it looked good against Wilson Hayes, but Wilson Hayes is a grappler with not good striking. If Cejudo puts his hand straight up in the air or makes a mistake, Dillashaw is going to crack him, and that, Dillashaw has power at 135. I think ultimately, even if he doesn't put him away early, he's way better on the feet and can win a decision that way. He knows Cejudo needs the grappling. I don't think Cejudo can hold him down. I think Dillashaw will push the striking pace a little more than Demetrius Johnson did in terms of more volume to win a decision, and he's live to the knockout. I just don't think Cejudo's going to be able to lean on the grappling enough in this fight, and I don't think his striking is good enough to hang with Dillashaw. Very close fight. Like I said, stack and cash. I'll have both sides in tournaments, but Dillashaw is my preferred play and pick. That's what I got for you guys for UFC Brooklyn, UFC ESPN, UFC on ESPN +1. Again, I mentioned the Open. Give me a follow on Twitter at the DFS Sniper. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching. Hit me up on Twitter. Join the DFS Army. All that great stuff. I should probably stop plugging so much if you guys are watching. I just want to let you know I really do appreciate it. I enjoy this stuff. It is a ton of fun. I'll be at the card in Brooklyn, sending out some live tweets, some pictures, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoy the fights. We've had a few weeks off. We'll have a few more weeks off before a really solid run of cards. But until then, enjoy the main event on Saturday night. Good luck in your contests. Take care.